It's like never that.
And people are like, why didn't you play Never Know? Like,
Yeah.
no, it's just not. So but it's just like, it's just been like, for whatever reason, whoever at Spotify was just like, oh, this is a vibe. I'm going to put it in this playlist.
It's a low key vibe.
It's a low key vibe.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is about you guys and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new music you're putting out and how you got to where you are now.
Awesome.
Sweet. Well, since you have a similar upbringing, obviously, where were you guys born and raised?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee. In LA now?
We're in LA now. Yeah, we lived in Memphis, like born and raised, graduated high school, and then went to college in New Orleans.
Okay.
4 years, and then saved up back in Memphis after that for a few months and moved to LA.
Rad. I'm from San Diego, but now I live actually in Tennessee. I live in south of Nashville.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I love it here. But I'm from San Diego. I've worked in San Francisco for a little bit on the radio and back to San Diego. And now my family and I were like, let's move to Music City. So we decided to take everybody across the country, and now we're in Tennessee.
Oh,
what inspired that?
The podcast mainly, to be honest. I mean, we're part of American Songwriter Magazine, and they're based in Nashville, and it kind of all made sense to come all the way out here and do that, and just a lot of things. And at the time, that was right when, or the pandemic was happening. It was in full swing, and I wanted my kids back in school, and also there was no show, so I wasn't able. It didn't make sense to still be in San Diego to like do the Zoom thing anyway. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I don't know, and I love it here. I think it's the best decision we ever made.
Yeah, it's great to leave the place that you're from and like create life in a different place for yourself. I feel like you learn a lot about yourself in the process. So
for sure. I mean, I love LA. I love Southern California, obviously born and raised, but if I worked in music, if I was that world, I'd probably be more apt to stay there.
Right.
If you're not, it doesn't really make sense.
Unless you're like an actor or something.
Right.
Other than that, well, cool. I drove through Memphis when I was coming here. Beautiful area. Beautiful. I didn't realize that there's there's two of the same. Is it Memphis, Arkansas? Is there
West Memphis?
Yes, West Memphis, Arkansas, which tripped me out. I'm like, it doesn't say I'm in Tennessee, and then you go across this bridge, and then now you're in West Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah,
that's such a trip.
It's funny. It's like the river, because like the river is like the border of Tennessee, the Mississippi River, and it's like literally right when you cross over, like it's West Memphis, but it's Arkansas. It's not even Tennessee.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Oh,
West
interesting.
Memphis, Arkansas. So it's not the same county. It's a different state, but it's like West Memphis.
West Memphis, Arkansas. So you were on the Tennessee side of everything.
West Memphis is not Memphis.
Okay.
We don't play in West.
Let me clarify.
Yeah, it's funny because Memphis, it's like at the very corner. So it's like Mississippi and Arkansas are all like the tri-state like area, and it's like the greater Memphis area includes like Horn Lake, Mississippi, and like South Haven and like West Memphis and like these things, but it's like. It's not Memphis though.
I got love for Crittenden County and DeSoto County, but
yeah, you had Elvis.
Right. We got Elvis. We got 3-6 Mafia. You know.
Oh, you do have 3-6 Mafia and the Grizzlies.
And the Grizzlies, John Morant.
Here right now.
John Morant, I think he's from South Carolina, but we're claiming.
Oh yeah, we're claiming.
Yeah, I have to support them. I mean. Now I'm here and they're the only basketball team. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to start rooting for the Grizzlies. That's sick.
Good time to start rooting for the Grizzlies.
Right. Yeah, they had the Titans too. I'm like, wow, they made the playoffs like right out the bay. Well, they, obviously lost, but thought that was pretty crazy too.
A basketball state, or at least Memphis is a basketball city, big time.
Is it really? Did you guys play basketball at all?
We played just like a little bit, not like high school team or anything like that. There was a dude in our class who literally like went to the NBA and was like 6'8".
No way.
So it was like I came in as a freshman, like 5'4", and I saw a 6'8" dude in my first class. I was like, great. I'm a band kid.
Yeah, I know you don't see that. You're like, I should be on the team too.
Right. But wow. And then he made the NBA. That's insane.
Yeah, he was in the NBA for a little bit.
That's
he was
crazy.
on like he played for the Heat for a little bit, and he was on like the same G League team as Duncan Robinson. He was like
Really?
G League with Duncan Robinson.
That's crazy. That
Yeah,
is so crazy. Well, you guys you said you're in band, which is awesome. I want to back up a little bit here. How
yeah.
did you both get into music?
I feel like it was kind of always a part of our lives. Like we always would sing just kind of like at home with our mom, and we never like thought of ourselves as singers, but just like sang along to stuff and kind of like realized at an early age that we had like decent pitch just as singers.
Mhm.
I feel like that you kind of are born with like having an ear to an extent where it's like you can hear like, oh, I'm singing like, if you're just singing a song a cappella or something and realizing like, oh, I'm like not singing in the right key and being able to find the right key.
Mhm.
But it was still like we were never like singers, we were never in choir and stuff like that.
Well, we were in chorus and like
I guess we were in
elementary school.
chorus, yeah, which is like,
But that's like every kid is like in, it's
In
like
chorus.
Orff music.
Orff music.
class.
Right.
Playing
Well, that-
xylophones and,
Did you guys? Well, I'm curious. There's a lot of twins in my area, which I hadn't really noticed until like recently. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of twins. Were you guys in the same classes and everything going through school?
No, they
No.
split us up, yeah.
Really? How
Yeah,
early
I feel
on? Like right away?
Yeah.
Right away, yeah, from kindergarten. It was like I feel like it's a developmental thing that they're like, yeah, we want to help
Mhm.
them establish socially like separate from each other.
Yeah, I think in like middle, it might have even been until high school, we had different classes. Like we didn't really, we like, I think even in high school though, for a lot of high
No,
school.
a lot of high school. It would be like we had electives together, like we'd obviously have band together,
Uh-huh.
maybe like computer
APs.
class or like AP classes we would have together.
Right.
But a majority of our classes would be separate, even like into high school.
Mhm.
Wow. A lot of the twins here are all in the same class. Like,
Wow.
and- yeah. I'm trying to like I know there's at least 3 sets that live like in my neighborhood, like right here, and all of them are in the same classes. And
Wow.
none of them are, I'm trying to think. I think all of them are still in elementary school though. I don't know if any of them are in middle school, or high school, but they're in elementary school. They all have the same. They don't split them up, which I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like it's a good, I also, when you were saying there's twins in my area, I was picturing like people like your age or like our
Oh
age.
no.
Like,
I don't
of
really
mine,
know.
like 8-year-old friends of mine.
Yeah, all my closest homies.
Yeah. Well, growing up, I think there was only a couple of sets of kids around my age that were twins. Were you the only twins at your school?
Well, no, Michaela and Malika were twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were twins who were also in the band.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
They were, I was thankful, like they were Michaela and Malika. They had like kind of like the reverse,
Close-ish.
very
Oh,
twin names,
yeah.
very twin names.
Mhm.
But aside from them, it was for sure like we were known as like the twins.
Of course. Right.
Easy branding, social branding.
Right. Oh, and the twins will be here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was funny when we were at graduation, and it's just like because everyone like line up alphabetically and stuff, and like it's like you're at rehearsal and everyone sees your name get called and you go up, and there were people at rehearsal that were like, oh, there's 2 of y'all. We were like, what? It was like people thought they were just seeing the same.
Like you were just the same kid was in their classes throughout the years. Like, oh yeah, he's
So
but it's both of you in different.
Never were at a football game and saw the drum line. Like you never like what? I don't know.
That's so funny. Well, with that, like, when did you start playing in band? And what was you? I thought you played like drums or snare or something. Did you both play in the marching band?
Oh yeah, no, I
Okay.
feel like because we had drum lessons like early. I think I got drum lessons first, and he was like guitar lessons like elementary school, but never really like grabbed onto it, and so it kind of fizzled out. And then 6th grade, you could start like proper band class and like learn percussion, and then 7th and 8th grade, we joined the drum line and like started getting private lessons 7th grade for snare, and just like got obsessed with it. So it was like snare drum was like our thing from like 7th grade pretty much through most of high school, and we like
11th grade.
Yeah, through like 11th grade we were just like that was all we were doing. It was like we marched like a year of drum corps, if you're like familiar with drum corps. Like the summer thing, we like marched an open class corps called Memphis Sound, RIP Memphis Sound.
Oh, they don't exist anymore.
Oh no, it was like it's a tough thing. It's like a nonprofit deal, but yeah, Marching Year Memphis Sound, and like we're trying to go like the world class route. There's this corps called Blue Coats that our band director in high school taught, and we would like drive to auditions with him and like get callbacks sometimes and like get to like the last stage of the audition process. But still love to play and stuff. But yeah, that's where it started. It was like 6th, 7th grade.
Okay. And it was drumline. And was that kind of it for through high school and everything? Or were you singing at this point? Or because you kind of mentioned singing early on, but then it just became all what, drums and playing with
and
the
just
band?
like percussion stuff.
Percussion, yeah.
Yeah, that was honestly a really helpful thing was we had like a percussion teacher that was like the assistant band director was a percussionist who played like marimba and xylophone and like all these different things. And like marimbas and xylophones are set up exactly like pianos. And so we learned all of our scales on like xylophone and stuff. And
so you knew the notes. You could hear the notes.
And just knew I knew all my keys. So it's like I could like
we took music theory.
Yeah, and took like music theory in high school. So that helped a ton. That's like anytime anyone asks me about like wanting to make music or produce or anything, I'm just like, learn your scales. Like
really,
yeah, it's so helpful.
Just like scales and arpeggios. It's just, and I'm sure there's like ways you could like get around that or something, but just like that is the basis of how I was like, oh, a chord is the arpeggio.
Yeah,
and then like figuring it out from there.
But, wow.
Yeah.
So from high school, did you go to? You talked about going where New Orleans for school. Did you go as a drummer or as percussionist?
Yes, it was like we went to Loyola University, New Orleans, and when we were first going down, it was like we were thinking we would like, it's like I guess we'll like be music majors or something, and we had kind of like been a little bit like pivoting away from like wanting to just be like career percussionist or career like band director or something, because that was like kind of the path in our minds at first. It was like, okay, we're like in the band world, we'll like do this. And saw that they had like a music industry program, and then like kind of did the interview for that, and we were like, cool, like this is what we'll do. And the first year we were like music industry like performance track, which is like you're still in like a bunch of ensembles. We were in like wind ensemble and percussion ensemble and orchestra, like all these things. So it still was very much like we were band kids, sort of like the first year. But I kind of like, I became a marketing major and was like, I'm just gonna like make music and like do like the song, like write songs and do that stuff. Parker actually was the one who first started writing songs though. He had a songwriting class freshman year.
Oh, really? And it did. So your songwriting didn't even begin until you were both at college.
Yep.
Okay.
Really like kind of started second semester freshman year, and then really started when we were like sophomores. It was like when we really started making music.
Okay. Did it start with that songwriting class?
It did actually. It was like I got Logic like for Christmas, and then took that songwriting class, and that was like the first time I ever tried like making music in any form.
Well, I guess we recorded covers before that, like a couple.
Yeah, like I think you had. I didn't really record it.
Yeah, I like recorded some like Frank Ocean covers on GarageBand, I think, like the summer before freshman year.
Okay.
I did a Bad Religion cover actually.
Really? Which Bad Religion song? That's a jump.
Oh no! Frank, there's a Frank song called Bad Religion.
That's like okay. I was like, wait a minute. I was doing Frank Ocean. I was doing Bad Religion covers.
Crazy mending of worlds.
Right. I was like, wait a minute. That's cool. Well, so when you started with the songwriting class, Austin, did you like after the end of that, was it like, okay, this is something I really want to focus on? And how do you show your brother, like, and was that like a vulnerable, like kind of terrifying experience? Like, hey, I wrote this song. Do you want to hear me show you what I wrote?
Right. It was like, first of all, like just making music, like trying to write a song for the first time in general, and just like being like, okay, here's like lyrics, like I guess I have to write a melody. And like trying to write a melody for the first time is so hard. Just like, not even just like, but just doing anything where you're like, it just sounds like a song. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I feel like you hear a song and you're like, okay, that's a song. And then you do something, you're like, what I'm doing is not a song. I don't know what this is, but it's not a song.
Yeah.
Like kind of getting over that hump of being like, but I mean, like, it's honestly like it's like bad, but it's not that bad. Like the, the first things I was doing.
No, it was good. It was like when I first heard the stuff he was doing, I was like, damn, Parker's making music. I gotta start doing that.
Really? Yeah, I didn't know if you're gonna be like, all right, Parker, we should pass and do something. You know what I mean? Like that must have been about like a moment where you kind of, I guess, as twins and siblings, that's the, you know, if you write a song, he's the other person that could probably be the most brutally honest to you, right?
Right.
Like
it never really was that. It's like we honestly, that's not really like our vibe. We don't really like, we aren't like the kind of brothers that like we're like shitting on each other or something.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, you'd probably I mean, obviously you respect each other's opinion, and if you know Marshall came to you and was like, hey Parker, like, yeah, let's you would probably, would you give you, I'm sure you'd give him an honest opinion.
Yeah, we're definitely like both sensitive people though, and we're like very like wary of that. And where like if one of us has like written a song that we like, it's like we won't just be like, I think we need to throw this away or something.
Okay.
Like, very like, okay, what do we need to do? I think we need to rewrite the verse on this part, or I think we should switch up the beat a little bit or something. Like we're very mindful of like trying to be
nice.
Yeah, so thoughtful about it, you know.
Yeah, okay. That's a cool you know, relationship to have. I was just thinking brothers and being like, you know, like just right away, just being the most brutal you could possibly be to somebody.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's almost even more like wary of it, just because I wonder if it's different because we're twins and not like there's not an age gap. So you don't, you know, I'm 4 minutes older. I'm not like 4 years older.
Right.
So it's not the same like power dynamic thing. It's like we're equals in everything, and like are so aware of each other's like not triggers, but things that, you know, could upset the other person, or, you know, everyone's like insecurities. So yeah, I feel like probably even like makes us more conscious of that, and like not wanting to step on a toe in a mean way.
Right. Well, so once the songwriting class starts and, you know, you have the song, Parker, and you show it to your brother and this is pretty good. Is that when you both decide, hey, we should, or when do you jump in, Marshall, and say, I'm going to write some songs now too? Or
I feel like at first he was kind of protective of that being like his thing.
Oh, but interesting.
It was funny because freshman year, I had this very vague idea that I was going to like work in fashion. I was like, GQ.
Okay.
Where like I'm going to design blazers or something like, and so it was like, that was like, yeah, that's my thing. I'm doing this. And then Parker started doing that. And I was like, that's actually what I should do, not this. And he was like, yeah, maybe you could start like do like your own songwriting class or something. It was like a different thing. And it wasn't until he did that whole class like that semester. And it wasn't until that summer, and we were on like a family vacation, like on the beach, and took a long walk on the beach together, and came back from the walk and had decided to like make music together.
Oh, wow.
And like talked about it, and it was the rest is history, man.
Okay. So from the walk, you decide to start a project together.
Yeah.
And do you start writing songs and releasing them while you're still at college? Is it something you were talking to anyone else about, or how did it all start from there?
SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is like, it was like peak like SoundCloud time, like peak like blog era, like 2014, 2013 SoundCloud era. And just like, like meeting other people. Like one of the first people that I met in college who like made music was our friend Zach, who he goes by Zach Villery is like his name, his artist name. And he's like a producer and like artist and singer as well.
Okay.
And he had been like making beats since high school, and he was already like a really good producer. And I was just like, whoa, like he would do stuff like he like had like a flip phone and like recorded it closing and using it as a snare. And I was just
like, cool.
This kid is next level. This kid is a genius. But and so it was really, it was just like and just even like the music industry program there in general. It was at Loyola in New Orleans, by the way. It was the school.
Okay.
It's just like any music industry like program like that. There's just like a ton of kids who make music and are like in bands and are like doing shows. So it's like it was pretty easy to just go in and be like, oh, I make music now, and everyone's just like, cool. Like, yeah, that's dope. Like
jump in.
It was like it was so inaccessible in my mind at first. It's like, especially high school or like any time before we started doing it, I was like, man, crazy that you can write a song. Yeah, I can't do that. Yeah, crazy you can do a show. Like, I can't do that. And then it was like after freshman year, and we start making music, and everyone, there's just shows, people throwing shows all the time. Like, there's such a live music scene in New Orleans. There's so many venues of so many different sizes. Like, yeah, and just having all these other people who made music, who produced it, released it, like made videos, which is like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this is like a perfect way to make it seem accessible now. It's just being around everyone who's doing it.
And when you graduate and you move back to Memphis, is it always the like plan to get to LA? Like at that point, like when do you decide like, okay, we need to get to Los Angeles to really pursue this? Or did something happen that made that happen?
Yeah, you can tell the RBMA.
Yeah. So I did this thing called RBMA in 2015. So I guess that was first semester of our senior year, the Rebel Music Academy. And they like, actually that just ended too, a few years ago, but they like, basically you submit an application and they choose a bunch of people from like around the world to go to this like 2-week clinic in like a city, like around, I did it, it was in Paris, and you stay there for 2 weeks and go to lectures and all this stuff. But anyway, we met this woman, Joey NG, who ended up being our manager. And through that, she lived in LA. And originally we were thinking we would move to Atlanta because we had more connections kind of in Atlanta, and like it was closer to home. And then right when we met her and kind of like started getting some other little connections in LA throughout our senior year, I was like, maybe we just do the big jump first, you know, like maybe we just go straight to LA instead of doing the Atlanta thing. So it was definitely from her kind of like urging and her just being like, do you guys get out here now? We can do that. So shout out to Joey and G. She definitely was like the one who pushed us off that ledge, or pulled us off that ledge with her. I don't know.
Did she hear some of your songs? Or I mean, you obviously met the person there, and then was there a song that she was like, oh man, like this is gonna blow up? Or did a song blow up?
I feel like it was just the catalog. She really liked the song we had called Hypocritical.
That was all like SoundCloud.
It was all like SoundCloud stuff from like 2015.
I'm trying to make that stuff inaccessible.
I'm at the point now. I used to be like so ashamed of like, dude, I gotta make this stuff private. I gotta like, but it's just like, that was like 7 years ago. I'm not like mad at someone going and like hearing like what a 19-year-old me made. I'm fine.
Right.
Like, that's a part of like my life. It's like, I don't know. It's not bad. It's like kind of good. I'm not mad at like what that stuff sounds like. And it's just, I feel like a thing with getting older where instead of being ashamed of, you know, creative output that you're like, I would never make that now. And it's like, yeah, you wouldn't, because
right. You know, 7 years ago.
Yeah, like it's
if you're making the same record 7 years later, then there's probably a new path to take.
Part. Yeah.
Well, the first record you have out here, at least on Spotify, I'm looking at, is Human Nature. Was that the next release after the SoundCloud world?
It was we have put out the song Rendezvous on SoundCloud, and that was kind of just like a single that was just floating on Spotify after a while. That was like the first song we were like, yeah, I guess we can like play into this Spotify thing, like, whatever. Like, I didn't have Spotify until like we had already been making music for a while, and it was like kind of harder to get your music on Spotify at that time, so we were just like, but it was that song Rendezvous, and then
which you ended up just throwing up on Spotify, or it kind of it got some legs on SoundCloud, which attracted some attention or something?
It was kind of just like the first song, because we had some songs did well on SoundCloud like back in the day, like, relatively, and it was kind of just the first one that it was like, okay, I guess like at this point we should start uploading to Spotify. It wasn't like the day the song came out. It was like a few weeks after the song came out.
Months even.
Or like months after the song came out.
Just Spotify became the thing that you're like, oh, we should probably get on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so funny thinking about that now. But like,
because you don't get paid from SoundCloud. It was just so funny. Like people like all the huge like SoundCloud producers, it's like they were just making zero money.
Yeah.
Right.
So SoundCloud was making zero money.
Yeah, no ads.
It was a weird time where everyone just no one's making money. Like there's a lot of eyes on stuff and everyone's just broke.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Well, it's interesting too, because so many artists came out of that world, right? Then like you guys, for example, or like Palfu is a big SoundCloud guy, and then he had this huge hit that just happened over a year or two ago, and like it's just interesting. And then it's like the world changes when people latch on to what's happening there, and then it starts to kind of do something.
Oh, exactly. And then it kind of becomes real world. Even like Bryson Tiller, Bryson Tiller was like a SoundCloud guy at first, kind of.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot. I'm trying to think of other producers.
Post Malone was a SoundCloud guy.
Yeah, that's crazy to think.
Yeah.
So from there you go to Spotify, but at this point you're in LA already, right? In 2018.
Yeah, like 2000. We moved there January 2017, and like 2017 there was like this kind of conjecture around a mystical, like a deal that was like in the air. It was
and we like took a bunch of meetings for this like deal and like negotiated terms, and it was like this whole thing. And it was like, so what? Human Nature was like gonna come out under that deal, and then the deal just like completely dissolved. Yeah, like around the end of 2017, and then that was when we were like, oh, damn, all right.
Yeah, LA's crazy, and then so we just like kind of like pull your pants up, and you're like, cool, let's release all these songs that we've had that we thought we were going to have all this stuff for, and just like start like
doing the indie
thing. In 2018 we released like basically like a song a month until Human Nature came out. So we just like released like 10 or 11 songs in 2018. Just like,
and just single until the full record was out. Well, Never Know is like massive, right? So is that the first song that really launched in the beginning for you guys?
It's funny because it's like, and it's I think an indication of like kind of why playlisting is like interesting and like misleading, because like Never Know, it's been in this one playlist called Low Key on Spotify for like 4 years straight. And so I think it's just like through virtue of just being in that playlist for so long, it was just like a steady, just like it just got plays. But it's like no one, like no fans or anyone, like no one comes up and is like, dude, Never Know is my favorite song.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
It's funny. It's like that.
It's definitely my least favorite song.
It's funny. It's like, we almost, when we put it out, we were like, I guess we put this out, man. Like, whatever. Like,
wow. That is really interesting.
It's so funny. And like, yeah, it's definitely like never, like at a show, it's not like, oh, I found you guys through Never Know. It's like never that.
And people are like, why didn't you play Never Know? Like, no, it's just not. So but it's just like, it's just been like, for whatever reason, whoever at Spotify was just like, oh, this is a vibe. I'm gonna put it in this playlist.
It's a low key vibe.
It's a low key vibe. And but it's just like, that was like kind of an early indication. And that's really our only song to get any editorial playlisting ever on Spotify. Yeah, for the record, also.
Oh wow. Well, then others. I mean, Blurry has a bunch of big songs on it too.
And that was a lot of that's just
Discover Weekly.
Yeah,
Discover Weekly has been huge for us.
Discover Weekly and just like algorithmic playlists on Spotify.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it was just kind of an interesting indication of like, oh yeah, playlisting. Like just because a song has like 10 million or you know what I mean? It's like
right.
That indicate like what songs people are like the most people are singing along to at a show or something,
Right. It also doesn't indicate whether or not that person has any sort of like you could play a show, right? I mean, like you'll see artists on the whatever have 10 million streams on one song, and maybe people just know the song, they don't know who the artist is, right? I think you're in a better position having people not come up to you and be like, dude, never, it's like they're actually there for the other songs in your catalog.
Right. Yeah. It's like the difference. I remember some of our friends, they were kind of like that. And it was like, they're like, yeah, we don't have like big singles. We're like a catalog artist. And I just thought that was like a cool way to put it, where it's like people are into you for like the whole thing.
Right.
It's like, that's such like a better position to be in, kind of. And then like if you're that kind of artist for a while and then you have the single, it's just kind of like,
yeah, you already have this group following you, and then you could have one massive hit or whatever. Then they're bringing 10 million stream song, then everyone else is coming in and involved in it.
right.
But it's like, yeah, you especially with people on like TikTok and all these outlets that are just making a hit, and it's like like through the chart, and then they've got to follow that up with no fan. Maybe they made it on their, sure, Mike in their basement or in quarantine, and it just catches fire and some TikTok algorithm, and then how do they follow that? Like, are you now an artist or?
Yeah, the TikTok stuff is so weird too, because it's like, it's so unlike all the other main social medias. Like, it's so different than Instagram and Twitter. And like, even just in terms of like, because I've just like been more active on it in the past couple months, and it's just like looking where you'll see someone is like, oh wow, this person has like 200,000 TikTok followers, and then like the last 10 ones they posted have like 900 views or something, and you're just like,
the algorithm is completely different.
Yeah, well,
strange.
What I've heard, I was listening to somebody talk about this because it blows my mind. TikTok is still a thing I'm like trying to wrap my head around, and apparently it's because no one. I guess somebody was saying that the following on TikTok is more of a clout thing than anything else, because no one is really on the following part of TikTok. You're always on the For You thing.
Yeah.
So you could have a thing go nuts and maybe people will follow you from there, but the likelihood of them ever seeing another one of your videos is like slim to none. And but if you land like, the ones that get a bunch of, no matter what it is, they'll get a bunch of things, is because TikTok knows like, okay, this person's content gets a lot of engagement, so we're just going to keep throwing them in front of everybody on the thing. So it's essentially like a gigantic, like a focus group, right? You could put a song up and you have just as much of an opportunity for it to go viral as me at my house. Or I mean, which is such a cool thing, I think, too.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, so, it's interesting too for songs that blow up on there too, because it can create a career, and it create obviously like so much money if that like funnels to Spotify.
Right.
It's the same thing where like with Easy Come Easy Go, like it's not really, you're not like creating like a dedicated fan a lot of the times with like a random song that people happen to do like
a challenge to, or something.
Like a challenge, or if it's like just a trend to like make a certain kind of video and that's the song that's under it. It's just, it's really interesting. There's nothing, it seems like as virality continues to be a thing, like nothing replaces getting like a true fan through like them seeing you at a live show or something.
Right.
Nothing is like really gonna like be as tactile as that.
No, I totally agree with you, because all it takes is like, like we said, one person, like the engagement happening on the one thing, and it just goes, and then what? The next video you do, no one could care about it.
Yeah. And then when that video is not on the For You page, then it's just like, oh yeah, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you got to try to get people to come over to your Spotify or come over to your website or your YouTube channel, because you're not making anything on, from what I understand. I don't know, I don't work there, but from what I understand, TikTok doesn't pay much of anything when it comes to getting views on stuff.
Yeah, they have like the creator fund thing, but I have like no idea how that works or what the general pay scale on that is.
Yeah, I was listening to the chef talk about TikTok, and he has like 400,000 followers, which is really, in the scheme of TikTok, it really isn't even that much, which blows my mind.
Right.
But he was talking about how like he'll do a video and it'll have 1 million+ views or whatever, and the amount of money he makes from TikTok doesn't even pay for the food that he just made in the video.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Which is like it blows my mind. It's like 1 million+ people saw this, and you're making absolutely nothing on it. But what a world. Anyway, back to you guys and your songs. I want to hear a little bit about Blurry. It came out in 2020, and was that pre or post pandemic?
Pre.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you have a lot of big stuff planned? I'm imagining for Blurry, and then
it
gets tongued out.
it really worked well because we went on tour. Our friend Zach that we went to college with, he like has done like well as like an indie and just like kind of like pop singer producer guy. And we like went on tour with him in February 2020, from February to like March 8th. It was February 7th to March 8th.
Just made it right under the
Was
radar
right.
there.
Indiana Jones.
And so yeah, we toured with him for a month, and it was like literally Blurry came out like the day tour started.
Oh, okay.
So we like toured with him for like a month, did like 22 shows or something. And I think that was honestly a big part of like why some of the songs did like well from Blurry. It was just like, it's crazy just the difference of like being, it's like, cool, I'm in front of like 200 to 300 to maybe 500 people a night, like 22 times, and just like watching that, like watching your like Instagram like every night, it's just like, cool, we got 40 followers
That's
today.
amazing. Yeah,
That I saw in person, you know, and
real
like,
people, right? Real fans
people
that care.
It was like, that was a huge, and like that wasn't even like a huge tour, but it was just like that, the real life thing. It's crazy how like how you feel it, and you're just like, oh, this is real. Like, you know, and like after shows, you'll see it's like, oh, like I can see like this many more people are listening on Spotify right now. You know what I mean? Or like,
right. It's
versus,
like versus not just having it out there and maybe getting playlisted.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. You know, that was huge, but there were still other plans for the rest of the year that got completely foiled.
Right.
We planned on doing like a headline show, because we did a headline show after Human Nature in LA that like surprisingly like sold out. It was like a 150 cap room, but still to us, it was like, this is crazy.
And LA, when there's 10 billion other things happening that same night, right?
And I was just like, and I'm not a real artist. I can't believe these people are doing it.
It was cool. Yeah. So we definitely had planned to do, you know, we had like a 250 cap room. It was like the Moroccan Lounge in LA.
Oh yeah, I know that place.
Planned. We were like, we had the date. We were like, it was going to be in September, which was obviously completely off. Like,
right.
But yeah, thank God we got that tour. It's still insane to think we were in rooms full of people. We were taking pictures with dozens of people after every show.
Yeah.
Like, get over
here. Exactly. I have no idea. It's so bizarre.
At all.
Well, talk to me about this new record, Paper and Plastic 1.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, I'm just going to ask the stupid generic question. Is there a 2?
Oh yeah,
there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Figured. Well, let's talk about 1. So Paper and Plastic 1.
This is pretty much, you can start.
Oh, no, I was just saying.
This has been songs that we've been, a lot of times when we make projects, it was like this with Blurry, and it was kind of like this with Human Nature. We kind of just are making music, and then you kind of look up and you go, oh, we have some songs here. These kind of fit together. And the Paper and Plastic 1 songs kind of had like the more, you know, organic feeling, a little more of like that wooden texture, and like they all kind of
guitar.
Yeah, there's like acoustic vibe on it. Yeah, for sure.
And so it was like, okay, these kind of feel like a thing. And it was fun, like at that point, once we were like, okay, these are the 4 songs, to be like, okay, we're gonna wrap these up, and kind of like being able to know that, okay, these are all going to be on the same thing. How can we add instruments to them to kind of make them even that much more cohesive? There were like certain textures that we added, and we were finishing all of them to like bring them that much more together, which makes me even more excited to like, once both of these projects are out, to do an album, and from the beginning be like, okay, we're like making an album, because we never had like done that. It's just kind of like we make stuff and then you group it afterwards. But like,
okay,
in finishing this and like the next one, it's kind of cool to like realize like you're moving with the intention of like all of these are together and trying to, you know, work towards that end. But yeah, it was, a lot of these were, I guess all of them were really like pandemic songs. So it was like the post-pandemic Mulherin stuff that was like, you know, labored over, and I don't know, it was a weird time. Obviously, like 2020 was like a crazy time. And to kind of like come out of that and like make stuff and finish music was like a huge positive for us, just even work wise, and like confirming to yourself that you're a creative person and that you are an artist. And because you question all that stuff when after a while you're just kind of like in the house, and then you don't really know what you want to say, you don't really know like what you want to do, and it's like it felt like all this momentum we had just stopped. So it was like it was a really strange time for a little bit. And honestly, like I feel like finishing this music was like very good for us, for just like having a goal and like moving and creating momentum for ourselves again.
Would you say that the being inside had any, or being stuck in this pandemic had any effect on the record or the songs you were writing?
Probably, I guess, just in terms of being even more introspective. I feel like we're always introspective and stuff, but what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like, probably like implicitly, but it's not like they're not like pandemic they're not referencing.
Well, right. I meant like, I guess let me phrase my question better. Like when it comes to like the production or lyrics, like you probably had a lot of time to sit and listen to the songs that you wrote a bunch of times before it was like, okay, maybe we're not going to release it right now because of the pandemic, or we can't tour it, so we're going to hold on to it. Like, did you have a lot of time to sit and like over critique, or did like that didn't come into play at all?
Yeah, and I'll say honestly, what helped kind of break through that is we started kind of doing sessions with friends of ours who are like producers, in the sense that like they produce for other people. And so getting to like work with other producers and kind of like, just because we haven't really done that many like sessions with other people or like made music with other people that much for like how long we've been making music.
Yeah.
And it was like starting to do that, and like with like people who are like real producers, like for a living are producers, and make good money doing it, and just seeing how other people work, it was kind of just like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And kind of like definitely informed the way that we have been finishing stuff. And yeah, so honestly, like if anything, it like helped, like being kind of like locked down, and then starting to kind of like just here and there like work with other people on not even stuff for us, but just like it'll be like, oh, we're gonna do like some beats to like submit for X artist or whatever. And just doing that like really helped us like kind of approach production in a more methodical way, and like finish these songs, and like especially with the next one, even it's like even a little more.
No, I feel like it's just getting to a point where you listen to something and being able to be like honest with yourself, where it's like, oh, I think like this part's boring or something, or like I think we need to like, we could cut this down, like we can like make this more concise or whatever. Because when you're doing like a lot of the stuff that we were trying to like dip into is like the pop world kind of, or like the pop R&B world, or like these different things where you're trying to like catch people's attention. And I feel like it's just opening your ears up to like keeping the ball rolling with the song. And that's like, that, and being able to just be honest with yourself, and that doesn't mean the song is bad. Like if you're like making something with someone else and they're like, yeah, I think like this is dope, but I think we need to like add some stuff here so it doesn't like lose steam or something. And like if you're by yourself and you're like before, I would just be like, God, this song's boring, I guess it sucks or something. Like,
now you have somebody to kind of bounce ideas off, or to like throw their creative idea in there. That makes a lot of sense.
Or even just like with yourself, being able to know like, oh, this idea isn't bad, I just need to like change this beat at this part or something, just to be able to have like, I think it's just like opening your ears up and learning to listen to music better.
Okay. I mean, obviously there's a second part to this record. The first one is like you were saying earlier, acoustic driven in the sense, like, is that kind of the vibe on the second half, or does it change up quite a bit? And is that why you were able to kind of clump these together and Paper and Plastic Part 2 together?
Yeah, it's like it's Paper and Plastic. So it's like assuming that the first one is paper and then the second one is like plastic.
Okay.
And it's like definitely more like synthetic sounds, and like
like drum heavy.
Yeah, more like some like drum stuff, and like just the production is more like synthetic sounding, and like, you know, there's like more like some songs have like more tuning on the vocals and stuff. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, just a different, like kind of darker vibe a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
no, it's a different world, man. I'm excited to, you know, move, because some of these songs still aren't done, obviously. We're still like trying to figure out, okay, what does this one need? Like, how do we really like double down on it?
Right.
That was kind of something with Paper and Plastic where it was like, okay, like Better For You is the first song we've ever gotten strings on. And it was like, okay, this is a world, like let's double down on this world and like let's actually get real strings on it. And like with the song on Paper and Plastic, it was like Somebody I Know I Miss. It's like, okay, like it kind of has a live feeling. Let's actually put live drums on it. Like let's double down on that.
Okay.
So like for this one, it's kind of the same thing where we're at the point where it's like, okay, we're toying with these like different ideas and like sampling ourselves and like having it feel like a little more, like some of it feels like maybe a little more dance music influence, or some of it feels a little more like choppy and like, so it's like, okay, like how we're in the stage kind of with that, it's like, okay, we're doing it, like let's really do it, like how do we double down on like those ideas.
Got it. Well, awesome. Like I said, I love the record, the one you just put out, so I can't wait to hear the second one. And I appreciate you both so much for doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having us, man. It was great talking.
Yeah, I have one more quick question. I want to get an answer from both of you, if that's cool.
Yeah.
If you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yeah. We were just talking about this the other day. I think just like collaborating with people that you think are good, or just like collaborating in general, is so, this is maybe not underrated at all, but to me it's underrated because I just didn't do it for so long. And I think it's just, I would say just don't be afraid to like put yourself out there and collaborate with people, even if you think you're gonna like, because I think it can be easy to like get in your head and be like, oh, like, but then if I do like a session with this person and we make a bad song, they're gonna think that I'm bad. But like, it's like I say, just like get over that feeling as soon as possible and just like try working with other people and seeing how other people work, like how other producers, like writers work. And yeah, just be open to that. Even if you still just want to make music and like mostly by yourself, like open up and try collaborating with people sometimes, because it can like completely change the way you think about your process. That's my
Love that.
Yeah,
Love that.
Yeah, that's huge, man. I would also, on like the flip side of that, just make stuff. If you want to make music, like start right now, like start doing it. Like you can get Logic. If you're not like a guitar player like that, or you're not a keys player, you can start learning, and then even just finding chord progressions online and just dragging in a GarageBand. Like there's stuff you can do to like really just like start the ball rolling and like just start trying to do it and figuring out your own way. And like for sure collaborating with other people is something I wish I had done more early on, and I definitely agree with that. But also like just trial and error for yourself and kind of figure out what works for you and figure out your voice as a producer and your voice as a songwriter. And like you're only going to do that from actually doing it. You know, a lot of people like the idea of, oh man, like I want to be an artist, because they like how that sounds and they like the idea of being able to post about their music coming out or something. Because I know a lot of people who are like, man, I want to do that. And it's like, you can do it like right now, like today you can start. And like, and I know that can be hard. It can seem like such a far off, like, because that's how I felt. I was like, I can't write a song. But it just took getting to the point of making like the first one and making the second one. And even if it sucks, like you don't have to release stuff for a long time, and just like starting like now and figuring it out, trial and error. Bringing it backward.